the Guru Purnima full moon lunar eclipse in Sagittarius that's happening on Tuesday, July 16th. That's coming up. So check this out. You'll really like it, hopefully. We're going to, whoops, turn this down. We're going to be breaking down several of these things, and also talking about some of these retrograde planets that have been, very important in our, in our life. We also, especially have been dealing with the retrograde Mercury. Mercury just turned retrograde, and we also have the Jupiter and Saturn are also retrograde right now. So a lot of retrograde planets, and I have been doing a recent sort of promotion, I guess you would say, where I'm giving a discount on a recent course that I taught. One second. On the retrograde planets. Put this here. If you really want to know about your retrograde planets, you can check it out. Here's the link. You should have it there. And it's, a very comprehensive course. I see we have Third Eye Activated is here. Listening to the birds while I wait. Okay, you were waiting. And I also have Anne is here. Hi, Anne. How are you? And, of course, like I said, this retrograde planets course is also very good because right now we're dealing with a lot of this retrograde energy. And it's not, separate from this upcoming eclipse, full moon at the very end of Sagittarius. So as you can see my screen here, I'll move this forward each day. If I move this forward each day, oh, Alex is here. Alexandra Rose, how are you? Alexandra is my great student and great astrologer in her own right. Hit her up. I'm always glad to see Alex here. We also have Lake H is here, and Gauri Gupta is here. Praveen is here. All right. So let's, I'm going to put this up again too for people who come so they can see this retrograde course. As you see the current transits in the sky, the moon is here and it's in Scorpio. It's joined Jupiter retrograde, Saturn retrograde. Now you see these planets are retrograde when they're opposite the sun, right? You see Saturn is deeply retrograde right now. It's about as retrograde as it gets. So it's, if you look up in the sky right after sunset, again, this is the astronomy. Saturn, you can almost see it, actually brighter than it usually is. Jupiter is still also quite bright in the sky right now. And so this is also very important in the midst of everything else that's going on. In the midst of this eclipse cycle, again, we had the solar eclipse, like as we see, this is Shukla Dwadashi. So we had the solar eclipse 12 days ago. We know that because Dwadashi is the 12th lunar day. And the lunar eclipse starts the first day, right? So 12 days ago, the solar eclipse. So 12 days ago, we had the solar eclipse up here. Now it's 12 days later, and that solar eclipse was in Gemini, which starts the cycle, the Gemini cycle. Then the halfway point in the Gemini cycle is the Sagittarius cycle. This is what full moons are. New moons start a cycle, and then full moons harmonize the opposite energy. These are the monthly cycles that we're all going through, whether we know it or not. And this is why we need to return to a soli-lunar based time, at least cosmic time. And this is the way the Indians did it in the ancient times. When you look in the Rig Veda and Yajur Veda, in the Vedanga Jyotisha, that was the main measurement of at least spiritual time. Even also secular time. And in India now, it's also based on the soli-lunar calendar. All of the celebrations and the holy days, or holidays means holy days, are timed to the Soli lunar calendar. They take place on lunar phases, usually new moons and full moons, which is Guru Purnima, which is coming up in a couple days. So this Guru Purnima will be coming up in a couple of days, and I'll move this forward. You can see this is Friday, like in real time, July 12th at 12:01. This is when I drew the chart. If we step forward and I move this forward incrementally each day, let me put it here on the birth chart. Move forward. This is tomorrow at 12:01, Saturday, Sunday, 12:01, again, Pacific time. This is Sunday, 12:01, and this is Monday. So you can see, or is this Monday? No, this is Tuesday. Sorry, the days were wrong. So this is Tuesday around the middle of the day, and you can see the exact opposition for the sun and moon. This is very close. This is around the middle of the day, around noon on Tuesday. Sun is at 29:50 and moon is at 28:36. So if I move this forward, let's say out, 1 hour, 29:07, that's about exact. I think the next hour, okay, 29:37. So this is about 2 p.m. on Monday, and this is 2 p.m. West Coast time. This is when we have the exact Purnima, the exact full moon, and it's an eclipse because you see how close the moon is to the lunar node. So again, this is why we have the eclipses. When the sun joins one of the nodes, that's the month we have the eclipse. This is why, again, 12 days earlier from today, we had the solar eclipse. Sun and moon came together and the moon eclipsed the sun. 15 days later, 15 tithis later, I should say, which is approximately a day, we have the lunar eclipse. And in that case, the moon is the shadow of the earth, which the earth would be here, is blocking out the light of the sun from hitting the moon. Okay? So this is what we're going to be experiencing. And of course, it's in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is that harmonizing point of contrast for Gemini. One second. Isn't this the biggest cup you've ever seen? Look at this. This thing is big. Home sweet home, it says. I like big cups. So a few other people showed up. Let's see who we got. I'll do a little roll call here. Esther Vargas says hello. Hello, Esther. Mahina is here. Namah Shivaya, Mahina. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Candace is here. Candace was at the recent retrograde, or she was at the recent lunar nodes course. Candace was there. And somebody says the insanity of the last 30 days is done with, I can't say anything like that. Insanity, it's never done. And I can't read, it says yoga with Gavrola is here. Hello. And Claire is here. And Jalari Ghana is here. So nice to see people here. Ashley is here. Ashley Botello. What I'm drinking, it's my special blend of pseudo coffee. It's made from green. It's made from yerba. What is it? Yeah, yerba mate and cacao and coconut oil. It's the best drink ever. Anyway, so we also have Sneha is here, Sneha Rajan, and Zach Bell is here. So we were picking up on this, by the way, the retrograde planets course. I can just, I posted that here earlier, but again, you see all these planets are retrograde, and this is a great time to really learn. I have a special on my retrograde course that is really the most comprehensive retrograde course I've ever seen, quite frankly. It takes into account every retrograde planet, not just in general, but as a house ruler, as a, by transit and all of that stuff. So these are things that are that are covered in the course. So I'm sure that anyone who gets the course will definitely, benefit from it. And 1 second here. Okay. So let's take a look again back at the chart here. And this chart, whoops. Okay. So this chart, this is the lunar eclipse. Again, it's a full moon. It's usually, I would just say it's the full moon in Sagittarius, which is the harmonizing point of contrast for Gemini. But again, it's also Guru Purnima, which I'm going to talk about, where we celebrate the Guru. And we have to ponder why this full moon? Why is this the full moon that is Guru Purnima? Guru Purnima. Now, the reason, again, it's not outlined in the text, but we're left to wonder why. And here's my speculation. Because usually this Guru Purnima, this full moon, I should say, because we have 12 full moons approximately each year. It's usually 12. And it's in each one of the signs. We have a new moon in each sign and then a full moon in each sign as well in the opposite sign. And so usually the full moon that happens in this Soli lunar month, which is called Ashada, is in Sagittarius. In fact, it's called Ashada because the full moon is in one of the Ashadas, either Purva Ashada or Uttar Ashada. So these full moons are are usually in Sagittarius, which of course is ruled by Jupiter, and it's Guru. So again, Jupiter is Guru. That's his Sanskrit name. Also, there's something else that's important, is it's also the full moon when the sun has the most, what's called Chestabala, or its highest magnification, because the sun has the highest Chestabala, or motional strength, when it's near the equinox. So the closer the sun, not equinox, solstice, excuse me. The sun has the highest Chestabala when it is closest to the to the solstice, the summer solstice, excuse me. So on the first day of summer, on the summer solstice, the sun has the highest, what's called Chestabala, or it's called motional strength because it's the highest in the sky. So the full moon, when the sun has the highest Chestabala, is the Guru Purnima. And it's usually in the sign of Sagittarius. And this is the Soli lunar month of Ashada. The reason it's called Ashada is because the full moon is in one of the Ashadas, either Purva Ashada or Uttara Ashada. And of course, when it's in Purva Ashada, it's definitely in Sagittarius. This one, as you can see, is in Uttara Ashada, which it's about an hour away from actually being in Capricorn. Sometimes it's in Capricorn. It's usually in Sagittarius. That's usually where the full moon happens in Ashada. So usually Guru Purnima is in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Guru, ruled by Jupiter. And again, it's about the Guru's teaching, the Guru's grace, following Guru's grace, following Guru's teachings, bringing it into your life, having it be a beacon of light. So it's that quality of Sagittarius and of Jupiter that actually brings about the grace, because we can have a guru and believe, and we all believe something. We all believe some, quote, guru. Even if you don't think you believe a guru, you actually do. Because guru just means whatever it is you're following that inspires you. And again, you might think you're the most original thinker in the world and you thought it all up yourself, but you didn't. The truth is there are no real original thoughts in the world. We're all just borrowing thoughts and ideas from each other. Even people that are innovative thinkers are just taking ideas that previously existed and arranging them perhaps in a new way and then moving forward. That's why it's always important to honor your teachers and teachings, because those who are honorable and those who are authentically wise also appreciate their teachers. Even if they do something totally unique and original with what they've been taught, they still value and appreciate the fact that they were taught things, and they're grateful that they found a teacher that taught them something, so that they were able to then hybridize that through their own understanding and nervous system. And this is all the Gemini-Sagittarius axis, as you've heard me talk about quite a bit, especially since Rahu went into Sagittarius and Rahu went into Gemini and Ketu went into Sagittarius at the end of March. I've been talking about this a lot, especially the Sagittarius end of the node, or the Sagittarius end of the cycle, because it's joined Saturn, and it's still joined Saturn. So there's so much energy now on that end of the node, on that end of our karma right now. We're very much in this entrenched belief system of Ketu Saturn. And opposite that, Rahu in Gemini is trying to accelerate beyond what we've already learned and what we already believe towards something that's much more unique to our own nature, which is Gemini. Gemini is very much about not just believing something, but understanding it on our own terms so that we can speak about it, so that we can give voice to it, so that it's not just a general belief, it's our belief, and it's a unique part of our life, so that when we need it, we can actually use it. See, this is why people are often hypocrites about their beliefs. People are such hypocrites. And that's what they're being a hypocrite about. This is why Jupiter, in general, has a lot to do with hypocrisy. And seeing the hypocrisy of believing one thing, but not putting it into practice, is a very Jupiterian crisis, especially now that Jupiter is retrograde in the sky. By the way, I talk about these things in my retrograde course. I talk about all of these kind of deeper sort of spiritual knots and problems that each planet represents. And with Jupiter, of course, it's this hypocrisy. It's this hypocrisy where we're taught to believe something. I just put a link in there again to the retrograde course and the special price. But with Jupiter, we're not only inspired, but we can be very much bypassing. And this is very much Sagittarius stuff, especially. And so Ketu Saturn in Sagittarius has been really blowing and destroying that, blowing that up and destroying that hypocrisy. And how we're all sort of hypocrites on some level relative to what we're actually putting into practice, including me. And I've put a lot of things into practice, but I talk about things a lot of the time that I'm not putting into practice. Again, it doesn't mean we're hypocrites in a bad way. It just means that we're also blinded in a lot of ways. And again, to be hypocrite sounds like a really charged word. It just means the difference between what we believe and what we know and what we're actually putting into practice and understand. Because we also have to understand our teachings. We have to understand how they make sense. And this is why even studying astrology is so good. And I mean studying it properly, not just gathering stuff about your chart and all like that. That's not studying anything. That's just the ego. It's just narcissism. Sorry, but it is. It's just another form of narcissism where we're just not really growing. But when you study it, you're studying astrology. You're studying the universe. You're not just trying to grab something for yourself. Again, I'm talking about this because these are big themes that have been powerful for months. And so when we talk about things like eclipses, and especially where we get Ketu Saturn in one end of the node, which is one end of the eclipse point, then it's going to bring out a lot of this charge around these energies. And Ketu is trying to really destroy this, again, this blindness and this ignorance. And Ketu is blind. He brings blindness to things. where we're unconscious, especially if he's joined another malefic like Saturn, because Saturn is then about all of our fears. So notice how blinded people are by their fears. Notice how much people can be manipulated by their fears. And by the way, whether you like him or not, if you want to see an example of this, look at the President of the United States. He's got one card he keeps playing over and over again, and it's scare people about foreigners or others, and divert people and try to manipulate them through fear. And again, we see a lot of this. And again, part of it is also hope. I give you hope for a world where there's not all of your fears. I give you hope for a world where all of these Mexicans or foreigners are beaten down, and I'll show them. And again, it's just preying on fear. And so again, when Ketu Saturn are there, we can really look at this. We can really see how there's a sense of hope, which is Sagittarius, but also a kind of belief and a worldview. And when Ketu Saturn line up, it can be a lot of darkness, lack of discrimination, and we don't see this thing very clearly. So I'm talking about this a lot because this eclipse in Sagittarius and on Guru Purnima is revealing a lot that you need to be looking at in this regard. Facing your fears, noticing your blind spots about your own teachings, your own teachers, noticing how much of it is perhaps fear-based, again, and how much of it is devotional in nature. If it's not fear-based, again, most of it even just revolves around our ego. And I talk as much, and I'm saying this as much about any, in any other way as it relates to astrology. And even like studying astrology and the teachers and the people that you follow and whatnot, even online or whatever it is that you're doing, how much of it is when people play into your fears? Like, for example, conspiracy theories and all this stuff that now feels so out of our control. We have access to so much information, and most of it's not worth a damn. We don't understand the nature of the world, so we find something to believe, and then all we find when we're just looking ourselves is things that stoke our fears and create this kind of spin cycle. Again, this is what I've been talking about for a long time, or at least the last several months, with Ketu Saturn and Sagittarius stoking the fear, the fearful belief, and Rahu in Gemini trying to say, look, get out of that and use your discrimination. Think about these things. Expand your mind and question the people you're believing. Question the things you're believing and look for pure teaching. And again, that includes me. Question me. Doubt everything I say. But at least listen and see if it's coming from a pure source. I never ask anyone to believe me. My students know I say, ask me all the questions you want, especially about, but keep it based on what I'm teaching. For example, what doesn't work, even with my students or when I have like in my certification courses or even live courses, one of the things that happens is usually I don't get questions about the stuff I teach. It's usually questions about, oh, I heard blah, blah, blah. What do you think about that? Or this teacher said that. What do you think about that? Or it's all this other stuff that comes in. Because I know the stuff that I teach is very pure and very clear and it works. I don't teach it unless I know it works. I hardly ever get questions about anything I'm teaching. This is why even when I have courses, I have to say, okay, you're studying this course, you're studying with me, and ask questions about what I'm teaching you, not what others have said, because I know you're going to hear a lot of other things. By the way, I'm not saying others are wrong, but you need to ask them those questions. You need to have those teachers answer those questions, not me. I'm not here to answer the questions of everything that anybody could say. I'm just saying this in general because this is how teachers work. This is how teachings are transferred and transmitted, especially from Guru. We're talking about Guru Purnima. Guru means the source of knowledge and wisdom, and you should test the Guru, make sure the Guru is right, but test them on their terms and see how they respond. Because often teachers that are pure and teachers that know what they're doing and teachers that are bringing good teaching are often going to bug you because they're not going to play into your fantasies, and they will challenge you because pure teachings are challenging. They challenge the ego. They make us think more than we want. And especially if our mind is lazy, we don't want to think. We just want a simple thing. Because I don't want to look at my own chart. I don't want to look at my own life. I want you to make a prediction and give me a gem and send me on my way. Again, that's just not how I work, because I know that's not how karma works. Same is true with teachings. I'm using myself as an example just because it came off the top of my head. But in a general sense, what Guru Purnima really is about your highest teachings, like your Satgurus. Like you've all heard me talk, my Satguru was Amma, the hugging saint. I've studied with many great teachers, though, and the yoga tradition, and I study from direct rishis and the words of rishis, like in the Vedic astrology texts and whatnot. And the purity of those transmissions they far surpass all of the stuff that you hear people say. And once you start to plug into that pure transmission from someone whose mind is aligned with pure teaching and pure knowledge, and Vedic astrology, yoga, Sanatana Dharma, all of these Vedangas from the Vedas are pure teachings. Once you plug into that stream, it's like drinking pure water or drinking swamp water. It might quench your thirst, but it's also going to give you all kinds of weird bugs and parasites that you need to get out of your system. And again, I'm not disparaging anyone, but especially many new age versions of astrology and yoga and certainly meditation and consciousness or whatever. I see stuff now. It's just people just say anything. It's not plugged into a pure lineage of rishis and masters who have become enlightened and who know how to evolve consciousness scientifically. Spirituality is science. Science is spirituality. Spiritual practices are what evolve consciousness. And great teachers and gurus will disturb you. And you will find the teacher you deserve based on your willingness to be disturbed, your susceptibility to be manipulated. Again, you'll find a teacher that will align with your mind. If you're in some paranoid, dark world, then you'll gravitate toward a teacher who affirms your paranoia and your darkness and magnifies it until you change eventually. So the message I'm giving is that this is a time for this purity of teaching to awaken and for you to see the difference between how pure your teachings are and how corrupted they are, especially by your fears, your capacity to be manipulated by bad teachings, false teachings. And don't blame the teacher. It's your mind. It's because your mind is wanting to get that message because it's congruent with how you already feel. And pure teachings are hard because they're not going to baby you. They're not going to patronize you. They're going to say, your karma is your karma. It's your mind. So again, this Guru Purnima is really powerful. I'm going to spend it with my guru in Canada. I'm flying there in a couple of days. I'll be with Amma through Guru Purnima. And by the way, Amma's the hugging saint, and it looks very nice on the surface, but Amma is in the same category that I'm talking about. Amma is an emanation of Kali, which is Amma you spend 4 days with Amma and you're cooked. You're in the fire. Your karma is accelerating really fast, and she gives you the nice hug and the smile, and then the rest of the time you're just getting triggered like crazy. Because you get that close to that pure teaching, and it's a mirror. It's a reflection of all of your inadequacies and all of those things that haven't developed in you yet. And so we have to develop compassion for those things. We have to do our spiritual practices and develop. And these pure teachings are going to be revealed. And the Guru Purnima eclipse in Sagittarius, joined Ketu Saturn, will be hard for you relative to how much of this darkness, this frustration, this false teachings, these impure teachers, this paranoia that you're actually embodying and seeking in your teachers. As someone has said here, by the way, it says, Praveen says, at every Guru Purnima, Amma is in Toronto. That's not true. Usually when we have, if the Guru Purnima happens when Amma is here, it's often in Toronto. But I've seen Guru Purnima when Amma was in Chicago. I've seen Guru Purnima in Boston. I've seen it several places. So last year she was gone. And I think the last couple of years, certainly last year, it was the moon had moved into Capricorn and Amma had gone back to India. So this is, but this, what Praveen said is true. Guru equals darkness, and Ru means removal. Ru is also like, or Gu is also like, it's like this sound. It even sounds like what you would think would sound like goo, like the goo, removing the goo. And this whole, everybody who is suffering, I want you to understand, because there's been some comments about how terrible everything is now and all this, and is it going to stop? And whenever you see yourself, instead of being a child about this, grow up. And I'm being tough here because I'm a teacher. I'm a tough teacher. I admire my students for sticking with it. But you're not here to be a baby. You're here to grow up. And right now, it's heavy. K2 Saturn is there in Sagittarius. And the lesson is to grow up and stop being a child. Saturn is the planet of maturity. And the only problem is you feel a certain way, your emotions. And the karma feels difficult now. It does. So what? So notice what you're doing and notice your child is triggering right now. And how instead you don't really want liberation or growth or higher awareness. That's not what you want. You want to feel good. And when you don't feel good, you feel bad, and it's bad, and you just want it to stop. You want to stay a child, in other words. Again, I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm just saying this is what we need to look at if we're going to actually evolve and grow and develop. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy for me. It's not easy for anybody. We all have K2 Saturn somewhere just jacking our karma. You want to see my chart? Here's my chart, okay? I had this eclipse right on my sun. It was on my birthday. I have this right on my K2. All these transits are right on my natal planets. Exactly. So I could be crying too. And I have been crying a little bit about certain things. It's been very heavy for me. Processing a lot of these things with K2 Saturn right in my 7th house, right over my natal K2. I just had this eclipse right in my 1st house, right on my sun, on all those planets in my 1st house, all of them getting eclipsed. You don't have to tell me, I know. But what do? You feel it, and when you don't have a spiritual practice and you don't have good teachings, that's when it hurts you. So instead of crying about it and saying, I want to stay 5 years old, instead, get good teachings, get good practices, and put them into practice. Or don't, and cry your whole life. See, I'm in a mood today. No, it's up to you. Look, nobody cares if you grow and evolve and develop except you. You're the only one who cares, honestly. And it's totally up to you. You don't have to. You don't have to evolve. You don't have to get good teachings. You don't have to mature. You can stay stuck your whole life. It's completely up to you. But I don't want that for you. You don't want that for you. So right now, this is really powerful, this energy. That's why I'm being like, I'm showing up. I'm bringing it today. I just played tennis and kicked butt. So I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling good. This is what it's like when I'm feeling good. Hang on a second. So what you can take from this is, I know, Leisha, you love it. You love when I'm tough. Leisha says, I love when you're tough, Sam. That's because you're a badass, Leisha. We know it. No, but the reason is because we never hear this. we don't hear it. And we act, and again, it's not even, it's what we already know. It's kind of just like a wake-up call. And I'll tell you some teachers to study who really brings this stuff out. Like, for example, my guru, Amma, is very gentle and very sweet when she's interacting. She would say this to someone if they're ready to hear it. She would definitely say it. And she definitely says it in her songs and stuff like that. But interpersonally, she's very sweet and very, I am usually, when I'm doing readings, I try to be pretty nice and diplomatic about it, but it really depends on what the person needs. But the point of the matter is that it's like we need like a bucket of water over our head, and that's what these transits are right now. It's literally Ketu, Saturn. Both of them are cold, severe, focused energies. And it's like dumping a bucket of water on all of our beliefs. And again, this idea of wanting to be childish and immature it's because you have a belief about the world. You have a belief that the world is here to make you happy. And I know this because people bring this even to my guru. Not just my guru, but to all gurus. They say, well, I have a guru and now things are even harder. Why doesn't our guru make us all enlightened? Why are this not? Because they're a guru. They're here to wake you up and shock you into your greatness, not coddle you or baby you. And again, that's also what you want. Think about those great things that have happened in your life. They happened because you put all of that aside. And you can put it aside now because this is also a lot of power. And in fact, you've had to put it aside. As much as I'm being tough here, I'm also bringing you to a point of recognition where you should reflect right now on those moments in your life, and probably you've been having quite a lot of them now with this Ketu Saturn in Sagittarius, where you've had to put aside your expectation and your belief that the world is here to make you happy and other people are here to make you happy. And if somebody doesn't make me happy, they're bad and I'm sad and it's all this thing. And when's it going to stop? You've had to raise that level on that. You've had no choice. I know, because this is what Ketu Saturn in Sagittarius is doing. It's punching you in the face with that as much as it can. And you're either growing in compassion and evolving your teachings and your inspirations as a result, or again, you're just trying to cower in fear and wait to when it stops. So this Guru Purnima in the next couple days, and as we move into it, again, we're really getting the juice of it now, because the moon has joined Jupiter retrograde. Again, so the next couple days is very good for you to reflect on your teachings and your teachers. It's in Scorpio to kind of dig down and process your feelings and emotions around these things. And then it moves into Sagittarius with Saturn. It's going to cross that exact plane of the galaxy, and it's going to cross through Sagittarius with Ketu Sat, where Saturn Ketu are. So again, between now and this full moon eclipse, we're going to be in this bhav, or this feeling of this Jupiter Saturn retrograde Ketu energy that is taking a jackhammer to all of your childishness and childish beliefs and naivete and saying, okay, I'm a great soul. I'm here to evolve. I meant to say this a bit ago and I got off track, but some other great teachers, I actually mentioned Amma, who was definitely very pure in bringing this real teaching. But also another great yoga master who I recommend people look at is Swami Sivananda. Swami Sivananda, he's the Swami where I did my yoga training. And Swami Sivananda was the same way. It's why I love Swami Sivananda so much. He was like not into comforting people, not into saying, oh, it's okay, just, oh, let me baby you, let me coddle you. He would just, and again, he wasn't mean. He would just say, one of my favorite quotes from him, it was a hybrid of a couple different quotes. He said, it said, karma, 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 don't bleat like a lamb, roar like a lion of Vedanta. He's like, you talk about your karma, my karma, what am I going to do? And then he says, Don't die here like a worm. You're the supreme self. Evolve, meditate, do pranayama, do asana. Don't die here like a worm. That was his statement. Don't die here like a worm. Or I think it said a little bit of happiness and a lot of misery. And you waste your whole life pursuing a little bit of happiness and a lot of misery. You know, eat, sleep, procreate, just like a worm. Don't die here like a worm. I mean, that's about as in your face as you can get. And it's just keeping it real. It's saying, look, you're wasting your life. You're not going to live forever. You're the eternal soul. That's what he would say. And that's my message, too, is that, you know, all of these things that we get so hung up on it's all just ego and emotions. You want to know what the ego is? People say, well, I don't have a big ego. Actually, I'm very humble. That's completely not true. Your world of emotions and how everything feels and what everybody does, and this world of people, emotions, I like this, don't like that, this, all of that is ego. How much of that is your life? 99% of it? Again, this, and I'm not just saying you, me too. Believe me, I'm not judging you. This is me as well. This is why we have to practice. This is why we practice every day. If we don't practice every day, the toxins and the impurities accumulate. Just like if you don't brush your teeth every day. You just brushed your teeth, okay, now they're clean. If you don't for a month, then they're going to get rotten, just like your mind. How much do we floss our mind? We brush our teeth and we let our mind rot like a cesspool. We don't drink from the pure teachings and perform the pure actions, hardly ever. In fact, most of us never do it. So again, these pure teachings are this is the point of the Vedic path, the Indian path, yoga, Vedic astrology. As you see in my book, Yoga and Vedic Astrology. I've been doing the practices for a long time. So the practices are nothing new to me. And the difference between doing the practices and not doing the practices. And you want to know why I had to do the practices? This is why, because this is my crazy chart. And to some extent, the people that know it the best know it because they have to do it. Otherwise, they'd go out of their damn mind. So you're probably a lot better off than I am. I had to start doing these practices at a young age. Otherwise, I don't know where I would have wound up, probably in a jail cell somewhere. And I'm not exaggerating. So that's why I know it. Because if I don't do it, I can just spin crazy out of control. So I understand. And I'm not a judge. I'm no one's judge. I'm the lowest of the low. And I say this all the time, and it's really true. And it's one of the most beautiful teachings that you can find. And they're not just words, but I know in myself that I can't really create anything that's very beautiful. Anything that I personally create through my ego, I'm saying, and my skills and intelligence is going to be mixed with a lot of pain and weirdness. The greatness that I can create and the greatness that I can bring forth and the fact that I've been able to do anything that might help any other person is all due to the grace that has flowed into me from these practices and these gurus. That is absolutely where it comes from. It doesn't come from me and my mind. And again, as much as someone is established in this, same way with you have to understand. You know, there's a story, you know, what typically happens is people will take credit, and the ego will take credit for all the glory and then blame God or blame the guru for all the pain. And it happens like this. I see it all the time. I was even just talking about it a minute ago. People will say, like in my spiritual community, like with Amma, they'll be like, why does it take so long? Why does Amma make it so hard? I've been doing this, I've been doing that, and I'm doing this. Basically, I'm so great. Why is Amma not being nicer? If not Amma, why is God? Why doesn't God reward me? I've been so great. I've been so great. Why is God punishing me? And it's a complete upside down version, because everything that we can create through our ego and through this mind that wants to keep conjuring up, I'm this and I did that and I'm doing that, and we're taking credit for all the greatness. None of that is true. All of the greatness flows from God's love and wisdom and any spiritual practice and meditation that we do. And the corrupted pain problem cycle is our ego. But instead, of course, the ego flips it completely upside down and says, I'm so great, why is God punishing me? Instead, God is great and the ego is punishing you. All of our punishment comes from our own ego. And that's what karma is. It's your ego. And so when you're looking at your natal chart, or you're looking at when you're looking at a chart, you're reading the ego of the person, again, and also the way out of the ego and the higher faculties and qualities of the ego. That's what you're reading when you're reading the chart, and how a person can understand their tendencies to distort God's grace, which is always flowing. It's always flowing whether we know it or not. Having a guru and having spiritual practices creates a channel to that divine grace. It creates a channel to the divine grace. Just like a farmer digs a channel to the water so that the water flows into the crops. The water is there the whole time, but if there's no channel, it doesn't get to the crops. So what the farmer does is he creates the channel. That's what your spiritual practices are. The asanas, this, yoga postures, pranayama, saying mantra. What this is doing is creating a channel bit by bit to the divine flow that's always there. The flow is always there, but you're not connected to it. Just like they say, another great example is like the radio station. God's love and grace is always flowing, just like a radio station. And you can live right next to the radio station and still not get the broadcast. Even if you live right next to it, you still have to tune your radio to that frequency. And spiritual practices are tuning the radio to the right frequency, the frequency of the guru, the frequency of the higher teachings. And again, whether you have a guru in a body or not, the teachings are there, and the guru is just an embodiment of them. So these are really big, big themes now, especially the next few days and going forward. We can get sucked into all the crap of the world, and trust me, I'm infuriated by what I see in the world. And again, this is a lot of what I have to work through as well, and try not to let that just crush me, because on some level, honestly, I'm crushed by what I see happening in the world. But I have to also, it's discipline to not do exactly what I'm saying to you, to not just give in to the fear, not just the fear, but the disgust and frankly the hatred. And to see that this is all working out the way it should be working out, even though it's confusing. And I also see it as from my own perspective, and you could see it from your perspective as well, that it's not unlike the way I see all situations. Because again, the world is just a mirror. And I see the way, the nature of the world now, the nature of my personal world. Again, it's all coming through me and my level and mental capacity and awareness and feeling capacity. And the world is just an excuse. And right now it's really magnifying the positive and the negative. It's getting quite magnified because of all of this intense energy. And what that magnification is doing is showing you exactly what your teachings are. What are your beliefs? What are your beliefs about the world? What are your beliefs about people, about gurus, about whatever it is? What do you believe, and how much do you really understand it? Again, that's the Rahu in Gemini and this sort of corrective process around the perhaps fanatical beliefs of Sagittarius. And so these are the big messages right now. If people have questions, you can maybe ask a question or two, and I'll see if, especially if they're about what I'm talking about. Yeah, I have to do that that caveat that teachers have to do. What about Neptune and something, whatever? I don't want to ask somebody else about Neptune. I didn't say anything about it. So if people have questions about what these things, especially that I've talked about, that would be fine. All right, so it doesn't look like they do, and that's okay too, because I've spoken quite a bit. And I will just put one more time, I'll put this link in for the retrograde course, because those of you, especially who are students, this is a great way for you to get a very comprehensive course on retrograde planets. It's definitely something that everyone should understand, and most people don't. And this is a great way for you to understand retrograde planets in your chart, just in general. And so other than that, again, it's really great how, this, how we're in this moment that we can really develop and grow. And this, during this time. So we're getting a couple questions. All right, so Alex says, can you explain how Purvashada plays into what you're talking about? Well, Purvashada, just that the moon is going to be passing through that nakshatra. So the moon will be in Purvashada on Monday. But so Purvashada is the early victory here that has to do with planting the seeds. So the whole cycle through Sagittarius is Mula is the first nakshatra that pulls out by the roots all of the dark and painful teachings. So on Sunday, the moon is in Mula. So we'll see Sunday, Monday, and then into Tuesday, we'll see the whole cycle of Sagittarius. Sunday, we pull out and uproot all of our dark teachings. And maybe between now and Sunday, we'll feel those dark teachings and how they're kind of exploded and even kind of accelerated right now. So then on Sunday, is this Sunday? What is this day? Yeah, so Friday and Saturday, the moon is going through Scorpio. Then middle of the day, especially on Sunday, on the whole day Sunday, the moon goes into Sagittarius. So notice how Sunday, you're going to want to just rip out and pull out by the roots all the bad teachings, the difficult teachings. And again, it's uncomfortable to say what I'm believing in or this part of what I believe is BS. Okay. And again, part of the reason we're seeing that now too is because Rahu is in Gemini, trying to find great teachings. So then on Monday, the moon goes through Purvashada. After we pull out by the roots and plant seeds in Mula, Purvashada is where we water those seeds. It's ruled by the god Appas, which is the ocean. So it's about devotion, love. It's that part of Sagittarius that is devotional, very devotional, and perhaps blinded by devotion at times. But again, when your devotion is pure, when the guru is pure, eventually you might be blinded by what you believe, which most of us believe what we believe somewhat blindly. And it takes a lot of courage and intelligence to question and change, which is the Gemini part. And then eventually we get to a belief and a teaching and teacher that we totally trust, like I am with my guru. But it wasn't always like that. I've been through all of the dark, cynical, sinister, paranoid, all of it. So I know the range. And we're always believing it at every stage. Again, this is the part that we got to understand. Nobody's thinking, oh yeah, my beliefs are bullshit. Excuse my language. Nobody believes that in the moment. Even though we're getting the message. We're like, oh no, I believe this and blah, blah, blah. Even though, look back at your beliefs 5 years ago and compare that to what you believe now. And see how much you've grown. So again, this is the axis. Purvashada is the faith and the devotion, but we often have devotion to bad beliefs. Doesn't mean the beliefs are good just because the devotion is good, quote, a good thing. So that's the Purva Ashada. Then Uttara Ashada is the later victory that comes after we water and we grow that tree out of the seedling, and we water it to make it a big, strong, mighty tree. We have to then keep watering it. And it's ruled by the Vishwadevas, the universal gods of time, desire, karma, kama, kala, and all of our efforts over time. This is how Sagittarius becomes Capricorn, through Uttara Ashada. And so this is a big shift and transformation. I'm glad you asked the question, because this is how Sagittarius evolves through these 3 nakshatras. And by the way, I didn't say it because it should be obvious, but this is purely sidereal. Vedic astrology is 100% sidereal. Every Vedic astrology text says it. Aligns Ashwini and Aries at the beginning, which aligns all the nakshatras with the rashis. Again, there is no merit to thinking otherwise. And so again, you see it very clearly in these fire signs. You see it clear in all of them, but particularly these fire signs and where the nakshatras bridge the next rashi. Okay, so we have. So I hope that was a good answer. And because we do have Ketu Saturn in Purva Ashada, so that's also a good point, because Ketu Saturn is there, and it's why I would say that I've put such focus, and I didn't even do it consciously, but I put so much focus here on these blind beliefs, that blind faith, where we're blinded by our devotion to what we already believe. And it can be a great ignorance to where we need to be questioning it more. Again, and I could say it could be a blind belief and blind adherence, because Ketu Saturn, they're 2 malefics. Saturn is fearful. Again, this is why I'm talking about following our beliefs fearfully and being manipulated as a result and playing into it, conflating it, especially conspiracy theories and stuff that's just not worth anything. So thank you, Alex, for the question. And so Sebastian also asked a good question. He said, do we interpret stationary grahas with high Chestabala as retrograde? No, they're not retrograde till they're retrograde. They're called stationary retrograde or stationary direct. When they station, they're stationed. But the Chestabala is high. So again, it's important that it stops. It's important at the stationary direct and retrograde moments. Saturn stations direct or retrograde for a week at a time. So when it's stationing, it's not moving at all. That's different than if it's moving even a little bit forward or a little bit backward. Vedic astrology doesn't put much importance on the station, okay? And I think it's because of the Chestabala is very high either way. And to answer your question, in Western astrology, they put a lot of importance on the stationary as well as a retrograde or direct. So when it's stationary direct or stationary retrograde, that station is important more in Western astrology. Vedic didn't really put much importance on the station, not that I know of, at least not in Parashara. Much of the Indian transit work is quite flimsy, to be honest. And there's more to be known about how to analyze planets and transits by looking at the Tajika system, which, by the way, I'm teaching a masterclass on that at the Sedona Vedic Astrology Conference at the end of November on the Tajika, which is a hybridizing of Persian and Vedic astrology. But what we can also glean by these things, by the Parashara type astrology, is the high Chestabala, which Sebastian talked about. And the high Chestabala, they just kind of say it's based on the proximity and closeness to the Earth that the planet is. It's actually based on the closeness as much as anything, and the brightness and the magnitude, which is also why, for example, the high Chestabala of the Sun, I should say the Chestabala of the Sun is highest in the middle of summer or at the beginning of summer, because that's when the Sun is brightest. The Chestabala of the Moon, I should say this as well, is when the Moon is full. So the moon also has very high Chestabala on the full moon. So the sun has its highest Chestabala closest to the summer solstice, and the moon has its highest Chestabala every month when it's full. So both of the planets are going to have high Chestabala. Chestabala is also what makes Jupiter strong and Saturn strong because they're retrograde. So good question. I don't mind geeking out on that. By the way, I talked about all of this in a course that I have on Shadbala. And, you know, people should understand, I should promote this link a little bit more. I'm going to put it here just because I get asked, I talk about these things in great length. But I have just, you know, libraries of courses that people should get, frankly, that you can, they're very affordable, full-on master classes, just like this retrograde course, less than $10 an hour if you get the special. And I mean, you have access to it your whole life. At the link I just put in there, hours and hours of courses. I just taught a course on Shadbala, where I went through all of this in great detail. And again, this is, I resisted teaching on Shadbala because because it's quite complicated. But we went down the rabbit hole for 2 whole weekends and just did all the calculations, put all of this into the, you know, really went down the rabbit hole and put all of this into practice. And so the Shadbala, you know, we went deep into Chestabala, why it's the way it is, retrograde, the magnitude of the planets, all of the balas, you know, Shtanabala, Digbala, Chestabala, you know, Kalabala, very interesting. So you're welcome, Sebastian. Thank you for the question. And so I'm going to say, Anne said, check out the teacher very carefully for a long time and check out the teachings because you're really following those, not a personality. So what Anne is saying is that you're actually following the teachings of the person, not the personality. But this is actually something you should recognize. Is this personality or this teacher all about their personality, or are they about the teachings? What are they doing? Is it just because actually, it is the reason I wanted to show this comment is this is exactly what I think is one of the biggest problems of this age we live in now. And I started talking about when Rahu went into Gemini, the truth is going to be shown. And this is one of the biggest truths that are going to be shown. Our teachers, or because we live in this age of information overload, where anybody can set up a YouTube channel and proclaim to be an expert, especially if they're nice looking and they know how to produce a video, and they can say anything, even though they're not really teaching pure teachings or good teachings. And how you can tell the difference is, are the teachings or is the channel, is it about this person's personality or is it about a teaching? You should be able to see very clearly. And by the way, you should also notice, if you like them because you like them and you trust them because you like them because they're hot or they're cute or there's some personality traits about them that you like so much, this is what you're susceptible to. This is your bias. So you're there because you want to follow a personality, not actually learn something. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying now is the time to notice these things. And you will notice more and more as Rahu keeps going through Gemini. You're going to notice and you're going to suffer the consequences of following teachings that aren't worth a damn simply because you're seduced by somebody who's funny or cute or a personality. Again, we all do that. I do it too. And I enjoy it too. I go from here, I go follow certain news outlets and certain things that are fun to me, that are enjoyable. But then I also get into serious stuff. We can do all of it. We can benefit from a lot of it. But this is what we're here to notice now, right? And you can decide where I am in this. I have some of my personality for sure, and I'm this or that. I'm not saying I'm any of it. You get to decide, and you can go ahead and decide. But when Anne made the distinction, this is what we're noticing. How much of it is a vanity channel? And when I say vanity, I mean that the channel or the teachings revolve around them. and their story and their personality? And how much of it is about the teachings? Do they quote sources? Are they informed? Do they understand these things? Do they have a long history of doing it, or whatever it is? What is the purity of the teaching? That's what's going to be coming out now. Yeah, so again, I don't want to get too fired up about all that, because some people think that I'm not trying to disparage anyone, because I think it's fine whatever people are doing. And even people who, let's say, like other astrologers who it's more about their experience and they're bringing it and it's fun and enjoyable. I don't have a problem with that. There's no problem with that. I enjoy it too. And people have told me, Sam, you're funny. You should be more funnier on your channel. Well, I purposely don't do that, just because I don't want to mix it up so much. I bring some of my personality into the stuff here and there, but I really like it to be about the teachings. That's the quote, I guess you would say, brand, or the thing that I think is more important and especially more needed these days, is that's why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this because I'm trying to have a lot of fun or get a lot of friends or get a lot of people to like me. Obviously. I would be nicer if I did. I wouldn't tell you all how you're babies. No. So anyway, this is what you want to look at. So these are the things that we should really be looking at these days, right? And really noticing how much what are we looking for? Because you're finding it. You're finding it everywhere. Now, what's coming back to you based on the things you're looking for? Based on the things that you're looking to inspire you and lead you, how does it feel inside? How does it feel? Do you really trust it? Again, introspect about these things and notice how you're willing to change or not change, or how much pain, if this is such a painful time for you right now, sit with why. And you'll probably notice it's because you thought it was this way and it's actually that way. You've been believing in all these things and your world is getting crushed. I mean, even if you're even in the political realm, we see it. We see it everywhere in the world now. Even if you are a staunch Democrat, which I'm not, by the way. People think I am because I'm hard on Trump. I'm hard on Trump because he doesn't tell the truth. But I wasn't a great Obama fan. I'm not a fan of any of the politicians. So I'm not surprised that the Democrats look like a bunch of fools, as bad as the Republicans do. All of them do. And I'm not hurt by any of that, because I've never expected any of them. I don't buy in or worship or get inspiration from any of them anyway. They're just there to do a job. But you see people, especially in the political realm, their politics, everybody's getting disappointed by seeing the truth of how screwed up and corrupt the system is. Now, again, that also doesn't hurt me very badly, because I've already known that. The things that crush me are the results of that, like detaining these kids at the border and the march to war and the total blind eye that's turned to the climate and all of this stuff, which is just heartbreaking. So I've had to go through that disappointment and had to say, okay, well, I still only have control of the moment. I only have control of my consciousness and my awareness. And I'm the only one that has control over that. And I'm the only one who cares. All right, so we'll leave it at that. Oh, it's 108 minutes. Perfect time to end it. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your attention. And have a great Guru Purnima eclipse in Sagittarius.